before the prison gates slam shut each night, before the fluorescent lights flicker and drown the cells in a cold, humming glow, there is a moment in Dodge Correctional Institution that almost no one talks about. A moment where the noise dies, the corridors fall silent, and one inmate sits alone at a metal desk, surrounded by something that should not exist in a place built for punishment. Stacks of letters. Some are written in pink ink. Some are sprayed with perfume. Some include photographs, names, promises, and fantasies. Some are pages filled with devotion, admiration, and obsession. And every single one of them is addressed to the same man, Chris Watts, the man who ended the lives of his pregnant wife Sean and their 2 young daughters, Bella and Celeste, still receives mail. Not just the occasional message or random curiosity, but fan mail. A steady stream of devotion from strangers who have never met him, but feel drawn to him in ways that disturb even the prison staff. Some letters are supportive, some are romantic, and some are far darker. This is the hidden world of crime scene obsession. The part of a murder story that unfolds after the cameras stop rolling, after the verdict is read, after the world moves on. Except for those who feel a magnetic pull toward the very darkness they should run from.
Unlock the darkest stories and unravel the mysteries with Dark Crime Box. Subscribe now and step inside the world of true crime like never before.
Tonight, we open a case file that has never truly closed. A case not about what happened in 2018, but what continues to happen today. A secret that reveals far more about human psychology, loneliness, obsession, and the way certain crimes echo long after the justice system believes they have ended. Welcome to Dark Crime Box. If you're new here, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this story is one of the most unsettling chapters in the aftermath of the Watts case, and it only gets darker from here. The first letters began arriving just weeks after Chris entered prison. Guards noticed them long before he did. A small stack, growing day by day, each envelope addressed with careful handwriting. Some arrived from across the state, some from across the country, and some traveled thousands of miles, crossing oceans just to land on the desk of a man the world believed it had already judged. Prison mailrooms are used to threats, complaints, and legal forms. They are not used to love notes, sympathy cards, and handwritten promises of loyalty. Certainly not for a man convicted of killing his family. But the letters kept coming, then multiplied, then became something else entirely. A constant stream, unwavering, devoted, obsessive. For most inmates, mail is a lifeline. For Chris Watts, it became a phenomenon that reveals something uncomfortable, that even the darkest criminals can attract attention, fascination, and even affection, that there are those who romanticize violence, rewrite history in their own minds, or insert themselves into stories they never belonged to. As the letters piled up, prison staff began to notice themes. Some women felt they could fix him. Some believed he was incapable of the crime. Others expressed a chilling level of admiration, drawn to the very thing that made the world recoil. And Chris read every one of them. In Chapter 1, we stand at the threshold of this mystery, the moment where the crime was already solved, the sentence already delivered, yet the story refused to stay buried. Because behind concrete walls and razor wire, a new chapter was beginning. A chapter written in ink by strangers who felt connected to a man the world believed should be forgotten. A chapter that forces us to ask a disturbing question. Why would anyone choose to love a murderer? This is the beginning of why Chris Watts still gets letters. The disturbing fan mail secret. And before we continue, don't forget, if you want more deep, cinematic true crime breakdowns like this, hit the like button, subscribe to Dark Crime Box, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new investigation. Long before the letters began pouring into a prison mailroom, long before the crime turned into a national obsession, there was a family that to many looked almost impossibly perfect. A family built on bright smiles, home videos, and the kind of everyday moments that appear simple but carry the weight of a whole future. Sean and Watts lived her life like a story she wanted the world to experience with her. Her Facebook videos captured birthdays, baby announcements, road trips, and honest conversations about motherhood and marriage. She spoke with energy, warmth, and a drive that seemed to push her forward even on the hardest days.
Tell me you love them.
You're welcome. We love you.
Say love
Get your
you.
candy.
Oh yeah, shoot, that's in here.
Her posts created a digital scrapbook of her life, full of laughter, hope, and the kind of dreams every parent keeps close to the chest. But beyond the social media glow was a woman who had fought for everything she had. Shannon grew up knowing struggle, illness, and emotional battles that shaped her into someone fiercely protective of her family. Her marriage to Chris was built on love, forgiveness, and the belief that shared effort could fix anything. At least that's what she believed. And she worked endlessly to make their life feel solid. Chris was the quiet one, the one who rarely spoke unless spoken to. He smiled often, but the smiles were small, controlled, like someone who didn't want attention drifting in his direction. To friends and coworkers, he seemed gentle, easygoing, predictable. A man of routine, a man who preferred the background, a man who never raised his voice. But silence is not always peace. Sometimes silence is the first shadow in a story waiting to unravel. As the years passed, Shannon's energy grew brighter online while Chris drifted deeper into himself. The world didn't see their arguments or disagreements. It didn't see the exhaustion that crept into their home. It didn't see the quiet distance forming between two people who once built a life together. Shannon tried to hold everything in place. Her marriage, her children, her work, her house, her health, as if she believed momentum alone could keep everything from collapsing. Then came the pregnancy announcement. Another daughter, another chance to strengthen what was slipping away. Her video that day looked joyful, hopeful, full of excitement, the kind that warms a room. But behind Chris's reaction, something felt muted, almost disconnected. A moment that seemed small at the time would later echo like a warning. Their daughters, Bella and Celeste, were the heartbeats of the home. Playful, soft-spoken, curious, and endlessly trusting. They were the kind of children who believed their parents were their entire world, and in their innocence they had no reason to question it. The Watts family existed in two realities, the one the world saw, and the one that slowly grew heavier behind closed doors. Financial stress, emotional distance, secret frustrations, and whispered anxieties began carving cracks that no camera lens could capture. And in the middle of that quiet unraveling was the man who later became the symbol of a crime that shocked the world. The husband who never raised alarms, who rarely complained, who avoided conflict until the very moment he could not. The letters Chris Watts receives today come from people who only know the surface. The smile, the quiet voice, the storyline rewritten by imaginations that don't want to face the truth. Many never knew Shannon, and many never watched her struggle, push forward, dream, or love with everything she had. They did not hear the children laugh or see how the family lived before everything fell apart. They only see the aftermath and choose a version of the story that comforts them. But the real story began long before the crime, long before the investigation, long before the world even knew their names. It began with a woman who fought for her marriage, a man who drifted into his own darkness, and a home built on smiles that slowly began to tremble beneath the weight of what was coming. And as the distance grew behind them, another presence quietly entered their lives, one that would become the silent spark behind the unraveling. Before we move to that turning point, if you're finding this documentary gripping so far, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Dark Crime Box, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next chapters as the story deepens. There is a point in every tragedy where the cracks begin to show, tiny, almost invisible fractures that only make sense in hindsight. In the story of the Watts family, these red flags were not explosive or dramatic. They were quiet, subtle, ordinary moments that blended into the background until it was far too late to see them clearly. The unraveling began with distance. Chris started changing in small ways first. Not the kind of changes that set off alarms, but the kind that make a partner pause for a moment longer than usual. Late-night workouts, new clothes, gradually losing weight and gaining confidence in a way that didn't match the tone of the marriage. He became protective of his phone, guarded, distracted. The man who once followed routine with almost mechanical calm suddenly carried a tension in his shoulders that seemed to grow each week. Shannon noticed, but she buried those feelings beneath hope. She believed every relationship went through cycles. She believed hard seasons could be survived. What she didn't see, what no one saw, was that Chris had built an entire second life behind the quiet mask he wore every day. As the summer passed, his emotional distance became physical. Texts went unanswered. Conversations felt strained. His eyes drifted past her instead of toward her. Friends recalled Shannon's confusion, her worry, her attempts to understand why the man she married felt like a stranger living in the same home. There is a silence that is louder than any argument, and the Watts house was full of it. Chris began working longer hours, spending more time away, coming home more tired, yet restless. The financial stress they carried only grew heavier, but instead of fighting to fix it as a team, he drifted further apart, emotionally unreachable, mentally elsewhere. What the world didn't know at the time was that someone else had entered the picture. A relationship built in secrecy, tucked away from the eyes of the family who depended on him. It was a relationship that filled the void he never admitted existed. It fed a fantasy of escape, of reinvention, of a life without responsibility, without the weight of expectations, without the reality he had built with Sean and over the years. In every tragedy, there is a moment when the path splits, one direction leading toward honesty, accountability, healing, and the other leading to destruction. Chris chose the darker path long before the world realized it. Shannon's videos from this period tell a silent story. Her smile grew tighter, her voice slightly more tired. Her eyes carried questions she never voiced publicly. She still recorded, still shared, still fought to hold her world together. But loneliness crept around her like a shadow she could not chase away. And beneath that shadow, Chris became colder, emotionally absent, indifferent to the family he once built his life around. There were no outbursts, just a slow, chilling withdrawal, like someone fading away on purpose. The children felt it too, in ways only small children can. They tugged on him more, called his name more, and he responded less. His detachment was a warning sign that no one recognized.
Daddy is a hero. He helps me grow up strong. He helped me snuggle too. He reads me books. He ties my shoes. If you're a hero, blue and blue, my daddy is love you.
Little munchkins. Hopefully this goes well. I'm gonna, hold on girls. Hold on. Girls.
Because who expects the quiet one, the gentle one, the passive one, to become the center of a nightmare? As the summer days grew shorter, Chris's secret world grew stronger. His lies became practiced, his storylines rehearsed. His mind split between two realities, one of responsibility and one of escape. And the distance within the home grew into a void that would soon swallow everything. Before we descend deeper into the moment where the story breaks open, don't forget, if you want more chilling, cinematic true crime stories, make sure you're subscribed to Dark Crime Box. Hit the like button, share this video, and turn on notifications so the next chapter reaches you instantly. Because what comes next is the moment the red flags stop being warnings and become something irreversible. In the early hours of August 13th, the unraveling of the Watts family story reached its final breaking point. The house that once held birthdays, laughter, and promises fell into a silence that would never lift again. In that silence, Chris Watts made choices that ended the lives of the very people who trusted him most. The crime was swift, devastating, and left a void that could never be filled. It was not a moment of rage or confusion. It was a decision. Cold, irreversible, and carried out in the dark hours before sunrise. Afterward, He tried to slip back into normalcy as if nothing had happened. He texted co-workers. He made calls. He performed small, calculated acts to hide the truth. He even played the role of a grieving husband, pacing the house as police arrived, pretending to search for answers he already knew.
I just want them back. I just want them to come back. And if they're not safe right now, that's what's tearing me apart.
But every lie he told carried tiny fractures. Every step he took was recorded, scrutinized, questioned. Police body cams captured his nervous breathing. Neighbor surveillance footage exposed holes in his story. Forensic evidence revealed contradictions he couldn't close. The facade collapsed when investigators applied pressure he could no longer withstand. Cornered by his own digital footprints, timelines, and forensic trails, Chris confessed. Not in a moment of sorrow, but in defeat, as the truth finally caught up to him. With the confession came a wave of national shock, grief, and anger. The world mourned the loss of Sean and Bella, Celeste, and unborn baby Nico. Vigils filled with soft candlelight formed across towns. Family members broke under the weight of a reality too heavy to bear. A community that once saw the Watts family as ordinary now stood frozen in disbelief, trying to understand how someone so quiet, so controlled, could hide something so monstrous. The aftermath inside the prison system was cold and methodical. Chris was moved, processed, isolated, and eventually placed into a facility far from the world he once lived in. For most criminals, the story stops here. But for Chris Watts, something unusual began instead. The letters started. One here, one there, then more, and more. Strangers, some curious, some sympathetic, some disturbingly infatuated, began sending him pages of admiration, support, fantasies, and devotion. Letters written in looping cursive. Messages decorated with hearts. Notes calling him misunderstood. Pictures, confessions, promises. A stream of attention flowing toward a man responsible for one of the most haunting family murders in recent history. Inside Dodge Correctional Institution, staff watched the mail pile up week after week. To them, the letters were not a mystery but a phenomenon that reveals something unsettling about human psychology. Some people are drawn to darkness. Some want to save the monster. Some want to own a piece of a tragedy. And some, though they would never admit it, are fascinated by evil wrapped in a quiet, unassuming exterior. The letters continue to this day, and each one is a reminder that even long after justice is served, some stories never truly end. They twist, evolve, and reflect the darkest corners of obsession and human vulnerability. A reminder that true crime does not stop at conviction. It continues in the minds of those who cannot look away. And so the final question hangs in the air, chilling and unanswered. Why do some people fall in love with killers? Before we close this chapter, if this story has held your attention, don't forget to support Dark Crime Box by liking this video, sharing it, subscribing, and turning on notifications to stay with us for more deep, cinematic true crime investigations. What do you think drives people to send love letters to convicted murderers? Fascination, denial, or something darker?